Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Woo Curious podcast, your map to the mystical, your key to the sacred, and your guide back home to yourself. I'm Eileen, a writer, a spiritual coach, energy healer, and slow living witch. This podcast is your invitation to explore a world where the mundane and the sacred intertwine. It's a haven for those ready to take the first steps into the realms of magic and mystery, providing a safe space for you to embark on your own enchanted journey towards healing and self-discovery. Here, I'll unveil the whispers of the mystical, the rituals often hidden in plain sight, and I'll engage in sacred conversation intended to stir your soul and lead you back into your power. I'm all about demystifying woo and witchcraft. So, whether you're a seasoned seeker or simply woo curious, I'm so delighted you've decided to join me on this journey. Let's make magic. The episode that you're about to listen to is something a little different. I had the great honor of being a special guest and advisor on a dear friend of mine's podcast series called the One Step Ahead series. You can find it on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube. We traveled through the seasons together, and Sheena and Sabrina, the main hosts of the show, brought so many incredible humans onto their show to share their wisdom with them. This episode you're about to listen to is the 1 year later wrap-up episode where Sheena, Sabrina, and I come together and connect and reflect on the beauty of the journey. I hope that you enjoy this episode, and I hope that you'll go and check out the One Step Ahead series. Hey Woo Crew! Before we drop into today's episode, I have two things that I want to share with you. The first is that the pre-order for my upcoming book, Awaken the Magic Within, Rediscover What Your Bones Remember, is now live. I'm going to drop the link in the show notes, but if you sign up for a pre-order, you'll receive an exclusive rest ritual immediately, and you'll be the first with access to read this beautiful little book that I am creating. The second thing I want to make sure I share is that the summer healing special is ongoing. I still have a few places left to drop into remote healing work with me to support your nervous system, your heart, your spirit this summer. These healings happen completely remotely, so they're not another thing to add into your already full and busy summer days. You get to go about your day while you receive. I send over a voice note when I wrap up your healing with all of the energy work that I did, any advice that I receive from your guides, and a card pull to support the reading and healing. If this is of interest to you, there's a link in the show notes as well for this. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to me by email, eileen@myluminouslife.ca, or send me a note over on Instagram at I am Eileen March. Okay, now for the episode.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back. I'm so excited to be joined with, there's three of us playing host today in what I've been calling the One Step Ahead series finale, which seems like a very final thing to say, but you know, some of the best old shows have had a finale and then they come back around to something new. So I am leaving that possibility wide open, as well as keeping my eye and heart open to new creative projects that might move in and take over this time. But Sabrina and I met last week. We were feeling a little bit bittersweet because these conversations have been so good and they've been such a big part of our lives. And Eileen and I have had the great cause to check in and talk only about cyclical living, the energy of the seasons. Like, it's felt like a really indulgent conversation, and we've done that 4 times. We have created together, it will be 29 episodes of OSA over the last 13 months. So
Wow. I love that. I love hearing those numbers. That's impressive.
it's a lot of really beautiful deep, heartfelt conversation. And yeah, it's some, I don't know. When I stop and think about how little I feel I show up in social media and creating short form content, but then look back and say, well, but you definitely know there's no shortage of content creation possibility within you. You just need to have the right space for that.
Hmm.
Because yeah, probably close to 40 hours worth of content that we've created.
Wow.
And good content, not noise, but good content. So I'm feeling really good about that. And I hope that you two really celebrate yourselves and your contributions. We have no idea how far the ripple effects may go, but we made this commitment to each other a year ago and we stood by it. And to my mind, any personal project that we commit to for a year and we actually stick to it, we don't get bored, that's a heck of an accomplishment. So I am very excited to be celebrating that with Sabrina and Eileen and everybody who happens to be watching. And I know that there's definitely a really sweet handful of you out there who've been following along this year. So thank you and cheers. And yeah, keep sharing, keep talking about it. It's meant to live on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that the beautiful part of the platform, like YouTube, it does live on. People continue to discover it and find and go back and watch. And unlike the kind of transient nature of so many platforms these days, I I'm excited to see how that ripple continues to grow because it can and it will.
Mhm. Yeah, I believe so too. And such a sweet spot for people to get a gentle introduction to the three of us and who we are, and to a certain degree, the work that we're doing in the world, but more so how we're being in the world. And I think that anybody who's considering forging new relationships, when they can really get a sense of who's a kindred spirit, whether that's, can we go for tea? Can we have a chat? Or I would really like to maybe explore working together. And yeah, I love knowing that um, this is going to sound terrible. I love knowing that we can create it, tuck it away, and move on to doing other things, but still really loving the fact that every once in a while we're going to see like, oh, somebody else watched it, or somebody else commented, or somebody else, got in touch, and there's no pressure around that, which feels also really good in this very busy time where a lot of us are feeling various types of pressures, which of course could be a whole different tangent. So before we move into doing a little bit of our hosts 1 year later interviews, I just wanted to leave a little space for the two of you to share anything that might be on your heart as the last time that Sheena's calling you into a Zoom room so that we can chat all things woo and alignment and authenticity.
Hmm.
I think I echo your thoughts around the commitment to 1 year, right? Like it was a project that you spearheaded, and I was very excited to jump on board. And at times it felt like a lot, like 20, I didn't participate for all 29. I'm probably at like 22, but that's a lot of recordings. And as we talked about previously, I'm really going to miss our conversations, and we're going to have to, you know, make sure that we pencil in time in the calendar to still connect in this way, even as groups, right? Because there were so many of us that we had really enriching conversations with over the past year. And yeah, maybe it morphs into a new project. I don't know. But I'm
Hmm.
very grateful and excited to be here with you guys.
Hmm.
Very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I think I was obviously involved in the fewest of the episodes, but it was always like this. Oh, it's there, it's in the background. And knowing that I get to come into this space and have the conversations is always, that's what makes the world go round. I feel like conversations, women in rooms having conversations. Yeah.
And I'll just put a little plug in here for anybody who's like, yeah, but no, but more now. Of course, the Woo Curious podcast with Eileen is always available and also so very worth skipping back and tuning into the previous episodes
Mm.
where the titles capture your heart. And I really love recommending the Woo Curious podcast for anybody who's doing some creative work. And I've got some episodes actually included in my course resources for the Art of
Uh,
Play with Sheena, where you focus on the energies that support creativity specifically and
mm.
play. And I think that's so important. So, yeah, thank you for continuing to spread the good word. I can't get enough of you.
Aw.
As you know, Eileen's been very busy and I've been popping up as much as I can in all of those various spaces and really loving the wise wild woman mentorship that I'm a part of now. So that's really neat to see my evolution of alignment and feeling very much that Eileen and Eileen's teachings and Eileen's offerings, courses, community spaces are very much in alignment. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to deepen that work with you. For sure, for sure. And I can't wait until we get around to talking a little bit about the work that we've been doing over the last year, and Sabrina in particular, the nature of your new offering. And I've talked about this a few times that it's a full body fuck yes for me. I'm just not sure when that's going to be yet, but it's such a beautiful package of everything that we need to support. I'm going to call it the healing breakthroughs. We talk about our healing journey. I think another way of reframing our healing journey is simply the process of self-actualization. Shit happens, we figure out how that shapes us, and through that, we're learning who we are. And it's so multifaceted that we often just poke on one little piece of it, whereas Sabrina has really pulled together all of the pieces. And one last exciting note about Sabrina, I mentioned to James, I'm going to meet Sabrina for the first time on Saturday. Like, how is that
Oh,
even
that's
possible? We've never
exciting.
squeezed each other in person.
I know. I was like, are we doing a group hug? Are we going to do single hugs? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, yeah. And I have had some of the most important conversations of my entire life with you, and it doesn't feel like we've never met. And I know it's not going to feel that way when we
No, of
get
course not.
together either, right? It's just going to be, of course, except our energy bodies are going to be like,
Yeah.
That feels like I got to meet Shannon in real life at the retreat last year, and I squealed. I was like, "Oh my gosh, here you are in the flesh."
So
yeah,
fun.
it's
It's just
Yeah.
really crazy to think the world we live in where we can have such intimate connections with people and not feel their physical beings
mhm,
Yeah.
for
mhm,
an extended time or forever maybe. But
Yeah.
it is, I think it's those moments where you can celebrate technology and not shit on it for all of its negativity. Like
Yeah.
without this, we wouldn't be able to have these conversations. We wouldn't be able to get to know each other. We wouldn't be able to grow and connect.
hmm Yeah, it has such value, uh, especially when it's used consciously. I think it's when it's consumed unconsciously or takes the place of those kind of in real life experiences entirely that we get into the space where it's worth shitting on.
mhm,
True.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like everything, the more thoughtfully we are in relationship with all of these things, the more well served we all are by them. Again, James and I were talking earlier about how Zoom has really changed the landscape as far as building connections, and even the difference being that we get a full sense of each other from the environments that we arrive in, which is very different than just like a phone call or a text message. And I really love the Zoom calls where we go traveling. I was in a call yesterday morning. We were in the bunny house. Like, this is fantastic. And we have really gotten comfortable, I think, a lot of us, at feeling that this is an authentic space, even though it's virtual. There's this disconnect. Eileen, you know this as well as anybody, that our energy bodies are still aware of each other. It
Mhm.
doesn't really matter geographically where we're placed, right? We're connecting on these deeper levels. And so the technology just really helps pull us into those connections. And I'm so grateful for how thank you to COVID times, ultimately, how we've kind of evolved and found ways of really benefiting from some of these side effects.
hmm Yeah. I think there's some of us more than others have found the way to show up fully and authentically in these spaces. That I think there's still a lot of folks who are like, there's a screen and it's taking me out, or who aren't willing to like have their background showing. I always feel a bit disconcerted when it's like a weird cutout version of people on some fake background. And so I think there's ways to make the space more inviting and more authentic, or more like as though we were sitting with each other in our homes having tea than other ways. I don't know. That's the end of that sentence.
Yeah, I know. And that and just leads me to think of another beautiful example of where people are now offering hybrid events. And there's some of this showed up back in the workplace in early COVID times. And Eileen, your Wheel of the Year ceremonies are the first time that I've ever experienced being there amongst a circle of women who are sitting physically together. And you do so skillfully, because everyone, I've always felt included. I mean, I would love to be sitting cross-legged on your sofa in front of your altar, don't get me wrong, but I still feel very much connected to all of that. And that's wild. Having really collaborative conversations with people around the world. Wild. Wonderful.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
Well, cheers to technology. Cheers to girl power.
Cheers.
I was thinking to be a little bit cheeky, and because Sabrina and I are the official hosts, I thought maybe that we would make Eileen go first for her 1 year later interview. And I
I'm
think it's
here for it.
actually going to come to us more easily than we realize, because it's been a very full year and we've all been really tuned into the choices that we're making.
I was thinking about how when we started recording this, I was sitting in Argentina.
Really?
I was there for the first 3 months of last year. We were there January, February, March. Yeah,
The spring's looking a little different and
a
feeling a
lot
little
different.
different. Yeah.
It's actually spring and not autumn, which
Mhm.
was part of my adjustment of going there last year. Was like we were gearing up, we're moving towards Imbolc in spring when I left Canada, and then I got there and I was like, oh, it's not now. We've had Lunasa and we're gearing up to have autumn, and this feels really, really, really jarring to my body, because especially because my work was in the northern hemisphere, and so I was really tapped in and tuned into that cycle, and to flip it and still be guiding women in the northern hemisphere in the cycle that they were in while I was in a completely opposite time of year. Yeah, it was jarring for sure. I was also like, I just wintered. I don't want to winter again.
Yeah. Oh, what a shock to the body. You're like, I can't go through that a second time.
Yeah, like we just did this.
We
I'm
just
ready
did
to
that.
ramp up, and all the energies around me are telling me to slow down again. I'm like, what? Yeah.
Wow.
You often love to try, not often, when possible, you like to get away to be somewhere warm and away from winter in Calgary, at least for a little bit. But this winter, you've been home the whole
hmm
winter.
hmm
And so I'm curious, how is that feeling for you to not be getting that super dose of vitamin D and warmth yet?
I'm lucky because Calgary's so sunny that I don't feel deprived of sun. I am ready for it to stop snowing. It's been snowing all this past week here, which is what March does. We get March snow, and then we get April snow, and then sometimes we get May snow.
May
And
long
it's,
weekend snow.
yeah, exactly. Like you don't plant until May long weekend. It's been interesting. We had quite a bit of snow at the beginning of the year, and so when we had this week of like, oh my God, spring is here in February, which always happens. And every year you're like, maybe this year it's real. It's not just a Chinook. But what happened was all of the snow melted. It felt beautiful and glorious. And all of the plants were still kind of green underneath, which is often rare because we tend to have like freeze thaw, and everything's pretty darn brown, but there was still some green. But then I got cold again with before it snowed. And so now everything is brown. It's like the hardest time of year this month. I remember even coming back last year, early April, and it was still April was grim last year in Calgary. And so definitely, well, I'm coming to the island at the end of April and I'm gonna drink up the green at that point. But I'm not struggling too much. I would have loved a Hawaii getaway because I do love having a
Mhm.
few days in that beautiful space to recharge. But otherwise, I'm not struggling really. I feel like the older I get too, because I've connected myself to the earth here and to the land and to the cycles and the seasons, I am finding ways to really embrace and enjoy exactly where we're at with the
Mhm.
seasons. And the light is long, right? So like we're almost at that equinox today, actually, is the equinox
Oh,
as we
wow. Yeah.
record. Yeah, yeah, the actual like midway point. And so the days feel long. And so even though like today's a bit overcast, usually our warmer days are a bit more overcast and it just feels like it's okay. Spring is here.
Mhm.
It doesn't look like spring in Ireland, perhaps, where they have flowers already, or perhaps Victoria, where there also might be flowers already, but it is still spring.
Like,
Yeah.
the transition is so clear in the prairies when you move between those
Hmm.
seasons. And there is
Hmm.
that brown phase that you have to
Hmm.
get through. And I can remember being little and visiting Vancouver Island and then driving back to the Kootenays and just thinking, oh, everything's so dirty. But then those spring, April rains come and everything gets so bright afterwards. So yeah, you're totally right. It's coming.
Hmm.
Feeling into how very connected you are to your home and I know your garden, and thinking about the word disorienting is what came to mind when you were talking about your time in Argentina, but still being very tied to the energies in the Western Hemisphere. And I'm curious if you were to be sitting with yourself from last year and yourself from this year, how would you compare the difference of feeling in flow? Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's really interesting because there's so much has shifted, even just in the way that I am okay with where I'm at. And I'm
Mm.
thinking about business specifically because it does occupy a lot of my brain power in a lot of moments. And last year, this time, I was excited about where things were going, but I was still very graspy. It felt like that energy was there. And so the imbalance of especially being in a space where I wanted to like, okay, let's ramp things up, let's go, we're doing this, and then having this seasonal shift be like, oh no, we're winding down, definitely felt like I was resisting. I was in a lot of resistance this time last year. Whereas this year, there are obviously still challenges, and it feels like, okay, as soon as we get out of eclipse season, I can start making forward progress again. And even just my own like large internal shift. Like last year, my word of the year was courage, and this year it's trust. And everything about that just feels so much softer and
Mm.
so much more like a breath of like, okay, I'm still showing up, I'm doing the work, and there's still courage involved, but it's almost like it's the courage to trust. And so yeah, there's a lot more flow currently.
Nice.
Hmm.
That's really beautiful.
Mhm.
I can picture you, managing your way through Argentina and having this beautiful experience in another country and feeling the resistance. And now you're not just dealing with like pushing through your own internal stories or beliefs, but you're now contending with the energy of the seasons as well. And
Mhm.
I love that you called in trust this year because it is such a it's a powerful piece, I think, to getting beneath the subconscious programming that's holding us back. And I'm guessing that's what you speak to when you talk about resistance. Yeah.
Hmm.
And maybe you
Hmm.
can speak more to that. What was it that you felt like you were really coming up against consistently throughout 2024 that you had to dig a little deeper to come through?
Yeah. The first resistance was quite literally resisting the fact that I was in a different hemisphere. And like my body being like, no, 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 no. And then eventually, I think my coach at the time helped me kind of recognize that if I accepted it, I could still speak to what was going on in the northern hemisphere, but it would feel a lot more comfortable if I allowed myself to be where I was.
Mm.
And then that played out on all the levels, right? I allowed myself to be where I was in my business, and I allowed myself to be where I was in my body, and all of those kind of pieces. I think a lot of the resistances for me too were, and I'm recognizing with some hindsight clarity, like resistance to doing some of the things that felt difficult or onerous or maybe even a bit dull or boring in my business. I've had a few moments of like, I'm going to spend a whole day putting a system in place, and that is not how I would love to spend my day. And having done it makes everything feel easier. And so there was some resistance to that as well. And I think resistance to trusting that it could be easier and that I could find and create my own path forward,
Mm.
and that it wasn't going to look like someone else's path.
Mm. And
Huge.
I laugh because we might be on that same journey this year.
I think there are a lot of kindred sisters out there who have been on this journey, and whatever it is with the energies that are moving and the wisdom that has been acquired, big shifts and
Hmm.
enormous clarity are coming.
Hmm. Hmm. And this constant remembering, because we're always getting bombarded with, the next guru who's got it figured out and is going to show us how to do it, and the next course that is going to change your life and your marketing or your, whatever it is, if you're not in business, your health or your whatever. And I think it's that returning, and I've been speaking about this all week. It's ironic I wasn't making the connection till now, but returning to that inner source of power and knowing, and
Mhm.
that, you know, at some point you have the tools. You have all the tools and you know how to use them. And now there's like this sense of like, okay, I need to pause and chart my own way forward and trust that I know what's going to work for me. I don't have to outsource that knowledge and that power. And then as more things and shiny objects start flying in, setting that boundary over and over and over again.
Mhm. So much wisdom. I wanted to acknowledge there seem to be just an awareness around shifts that are taking place as well, that people are being more discerning now about who they're
Mhm.
choosing to invest in learning from.
Mhm.
And I think that that speaks volumes to the number of people who are stepping into practicing trusting that inner knowing and power.
Mhm.
And a lot of that wisdom has come from, thank you so much, trying systems that have worked for other people or trying approaches that have worked for other people. And what a beautiful place to start when you don't know where to start,
Mhm.
because it's
Mhm.
through that contrast that you're able to find what actually is for you and
Mhm.
feel confident in that. There's a lot of merit in knowing what doesn't work for us or what doesn't feel aligned for us. I think that I'll be curious to see. I have a hunch all three of us are going to speak a little bit to that. But I love that for the people who are arriving within communities and to work with people, because they have different reasons, I think, for being there in some cases. It's less about paying to learn somebody else's solution and more about paying to be part of opportunities to learn what our own solutions are.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I think that recognition, ooh, that feels good. Just because of what I'm creating or of what I've recently birthed into the world with Wise Wild Woman, it is this sense of like it's it's not about I don't have a to B transformational, here's your journey steps, which makes it very difficult to quote unquote sell in the world of like, I have this tried and true track record proven method. And like, it's not a method really. It's more of a repetition and a container for support as you journey inwards because it's a lonely journey sometimes and we need to share our wisdom and support each other in that. Yeah. Yeah.
I know Sabrina relates to that.
I do. I'm hearing so many similarities, but one of the things that shines through for me is that I think in that we give people permission to explore and to find solutions that work for them.
Yeah.
And that is, to your point of like this A to B, we've we've been so misguided as humans of like, well, just take this thing or follow this program or, do this path. It's the way of the future. You'll succeed no matter what, or you'll overcome this challenge. And the
Money back guarantee.
where I go all the time, I'm continuously shown that Sheena's way is probably not my way, and Eileen's way is probably not my way. But if I give myself the permission to find out the answers for myself and explore and not think I'm failing when something isn't maybe the right fit for me,
Hmm.
I do find so much more alignment and peace in my life. But that
Hmm.
story still shows up from time to time, right? This like
Oh yeah.
the comparison, I'm not doing it right. I should be doing it faster. Like I'm even in my recent breathwork experience, which I'll talk about in my little chit chat, but I think that's such a wise and honest and fulfilling container to offer for people is like, hey, I'm not the solution. You're the solution.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I recently started. I came across the word, and I can't remember. Maybe it was Sheena even who suggested it to me. But I often start any kind of talk or class or anything that I'm giving by reminding people I'm a guide, not a guru.
I love it.
And somebody offered me the term wayfinder, and
Ooh.
I loved that. It doesn't sound quite as catchy, so we're sticking with the alliteration. And then, but wayfinder is this, it's somebody who finds a way.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean it's the way.
Yeah.
It is simply a way.
Yeah.
And maybe part of that way is your way, and then you branch off and you find a different way. And maybe the way that was found allows you to see a whole nother path that never existed before. You could see that this path existed. And so that's more what I'm trying to embody than like, again, I'm not a guide.
Mhm.
You're the guide.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I think that it's also to your point, like it's very hard to market that because
Yeah.
to I use the word guide a lot too. And even knowing when I'm sitting with clients, I'm just holding space for them to navigate their way. I'm not forcing them down one path or the other. I'm like, let's
Hmm.
let's maybe illuminate some different paths that you've never seen before. Maybe
Hmm.
you didn't trust were
Exactly.
there.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
really difficult to use language that I think appeals to everyday people who are still waking up.
Yeah. 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 I think that, like, as you're speaking of like illuminating the paths that are already there, that, like, to me, when I hear the word wayfinder, I picture, like, I read a lot of fantasy. And so I picture somebody holding up the lantern in a dark space and showing these paths that exist, these ways forward. And yeah, it's evocative. That's what that word is for me.
Mm.
It's very evocative.
I love it. It's so funny, you guys. I literally created this new screen background for my phone.
Mm.
Kind of it's a little bright, but that was the idea is I had this meditation and it was like illuminating these paths. And so I tried to, use like the magic whatever in Canva to be like,
Hmm.
this is my vision, create this picture of me walking the path, like showing it illuminated.
Nice. Oh yeah, what a great use of that tool.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's phone wallpapers are so inspiring, and I can't bring myself to take my dearly departed kitty off of mine. So that's what it is.
So inspiring.
It's Minka.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll show people.
It's
There she is
so
in all
What a
her
beautiful
beauty.
cat.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
She was a very pretty girl.
I hear
hmm
So
you.
much has changed, and yet in some ways, very little. I'm wondering, Eileen, is there anything, what would you say on how your skillfulness of discernment has changed? So Eileen a year ago had a full year less wisdom and life, and she was doing the best she can. What have you learned today that you not necessarily would tell her, but you could tell her if you were chatting with her about
Mm.
all of that authenticity, alignment, the leaning.
hmm
Jean's just really pulling out the fucking hard questions today, I must
Am
say.
I? It's the last one. I got to get all the goods. Maybe
Oh,
that's
I love it. I love
I
them.
love
I
it.
love questions that make me think. The first thing that came to mind was because I do like the idea of like, what would I tell her? What are the big shifts? And the first thing I would tell her is like, when your intuition screams that you fucking believe it, use
that's
my language.
perfect.
Do not wait for the 2x4 to get hit across the head
Yeah,
by the
right? Like
universe.
when you use
Listen
your
to God.
intuitive, yeah, when you use your intuitive tools to make a decision and it says no, don't be like, no, I'll say yes anyways. That's the big one. And and I think part of what I've really learned this year, something that I was doing a lot, and this is a piece of, I actually spoke to this today too, is I was waiting for success, quote unquote, to give myself permission to go out and spend money by going out with friends or going to an event that I might not otherwise go to, or like getting out of the house and doing things for me, getting in touch again and physically fit. And every time, and it's still a bit of a struggle for me because I'm still an entrepreneur, but every time I'm like, no, I'm gonna go do that thing. I'm gonna pay to go to this event. I'm gonna go out with friends. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm now a part of a gym where it's classes, and so I'm committed. It's like a monthly plan. And every time I've done that, the ripple effects have been like in all areas of my life have just been so positive. And it's that reminder, like we can't wait. Like how many times do I say this to other people? We can't wait until to start living our lives. And so it's been a lot of work around, walking that space of my scarcity mindset and not letting it run the show, letting it be okay to be in the place that I am. Again, that lesson from last year, like be where you are and leaning into the things that feel really good, even if you don't feel like, quote unquote, you can afford it. Because that's it, whether it be time or money or energy that you can't afford to do it with, the things that I know will fill me up. Yeah, I would have told Eileen in Argentina to like go out without Greg and find some friends because I was like in this kind of stuck space of feeling very isolated as we worked and we weren't connecting with people as easily as we thought we might. And I was kind of leaning on him to do some of that work because he was a digital nomad for so long and he wasn't doing the work. And so, yeah, there's a few things, but coming back into that again, that internal power and connection and trust in the intuition, especially when it's yelling, especially when it's yelling.
Well done.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that wisdom with all of us. I don't think we can hear that reminder too often. When you have a very clear answer, listen.
Believe it.
Do not let the intellectual brain override.
Right? The intellectual brain. I had to learn that lesson a couple times to the tune of, tens of thousands of dollars. The first time was for FOMO. That's why I overrode my intuition. Really wanted it. And the second time was my intellectualizing myself into like thinking something was a good idea, even though my
Oh,
intuition was like,
same.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's an expensive lesson, but I sure learned it.
Yeah, and you know, people hear these stories over and over, and most of us still end up learning it the hard way because we're stubborn and we're curious and
Right. I think that's too
We have to learn it ourselves. That
right.
as a parent, this is what I'm like really trying to embody is I still remember my dad's lessons to me as a child, and I still had to go out and learn them. And my son is
Mhm.
going to do the exact same fucking thing, and I have to let him.
Yeah, and I think
That's
that's part
part of
of
the human
why,
experience.
yeah, and it's part of why the like, I can show you the way so you don't have to struggle the way I did doesn't actually work.
No.
I can hold space and help lift you up and, light some options for you while you walk the path, but you still got to walk the path.
Oh, I wish we could share that message with more people and have them really hear it. Is like you still have to sit in the darkness. Like I can light a small candle for you, but
Hmm.
at the end of the day, you have to trust yourself to sit in it and feel
Hmm.
all of the shit and the pain and the lessons and the despair and the grief and the anguish, and you will come out the other side.
Hmm.
But all I can do is like hold a small candle. I
And
cannot,
sit with you. Yeah.
yeah, I can't brighten the room so you don't feel it anymore. If I could,
Hmm.
I would, but it
Hmm.
doesn't work that way.
Hmm. Yeah, I can be a tether or a lifeline
Yeah,
for when you're ready to come out or when you're able.
yeah,
And that's so true of so many. I think about, relationships where somebody is so clear that the person is not in a good place and needs to leave, but they can't until they're ready.
yeah,
And, in grief or pain, in business, in friendship, it applies everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. It's so interesting because the evolution of these spaces of caretakers, I think a lot of it comes from like I know all three of us here we've bought into other people's methods and we've done a lot of experimentation. And as I say, much gratitude for the starting place because I had no idea where to start. And I wouldn't have started if someone didn't say, well, hey, I've done this, it's worked for me, and I'm totally happy to show you how to try it for yourself. There were no
Hmm.
guarantees.
Hmm.
But it provided such a beautiful place for me to start because I could see how I could apply myself in those ways. And then I've learned so many different things about myself and coming out the other side of it that it's I got a little bit sidetracked there. The point that I was trying to make is that I think along with the waking up, there are going to be more and more people who have been trying these different ways and they think they know what's right for them. They have an inclination they want to follow, but they really need the cheerleaders and the wayfinders to, in some ways, even just give them permission,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And then to walk with them
Hmm.
or sit with them. Not to do it for them, but to really empower them to know they're not doing it alone. And that feels like such a simple thing to do. And it should be so obvious. And yet it's so peculiar that, well, yeah, but you can't sell that. But that's
Hmm.
Who
actually
wants
what
to
it
sell their like
is
who wants to
when you
buy?
get,
There's no easy way. Just like
Yeah.
take this package where it's like you have to go the hard route.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that,
Sign me up.
yes,
You want a quick fix? Sorry, I don't offer that.
Yes.
yes.
Here's the white knuckle method.
Yeah. And at the same time, I do think that part of what Sheena spoke to, this people are being more discerning. They've lost trust in a lot of the online gimmicky courses, offers, quick fixes. And so I do think that there are more people who are going to resonate with that authenticity behind those statements.
Mhm.
And it may take them a little bit longer to get to the point of trust to go there and to say, yes, okay, I'm going to step in and commit. But once they do, they're so much more likely to feel held and safe and get the actual transformation that they're desiring.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 And
I
I
have to
think
hope
they'll
that.
move forward with really clear expectations for themselves as well. I know that when I started my business, if I had had any idea of how much oomph it was actually going to take, like you can tell me it's going to be hard work, but if I actually stopped and thought about what that meant, I probably wouldn't have started. But it's kind
Yeah.
of neat because I'm pretty sure it was Nicole Crone, she's been a guest here as well, who says you you sell them what they think they want, but all the
And
while
you give them
you're
what you need.
providing what you know they need.
Yeah.
And we want to hear somebody's got the solution for us. Less
Hmm.
so, I think now. Now we're wary
Hmm.
of that because we're like, I've tried that before. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like how, because again, it feels like for those of us who are walking this path and trying to do so with lots of integrity, there is a fine line between selling them what they think they want. If it doesn't, like, I really balk at saying anything that I don't actually believe I'm doing or offering or giving. And one of my two big, expensive against my intuition mistakes, I remember them at one point saying, by the time they get to a discovery call with you, they won't even remember what your guarantee was. And I was like, ick.
Hmm.
I remember that you said you had a money back guarantee. Are you going to give that to me? No? Okay, cool. Yeah, no big deal. It's
I
just,
Strange.
I can speak
yeah.
well on my own journey, and that's been a really big one this year. It's Integrity's always been a very strong value for me in my personal and my business life. And I've observed other practitioners, people who offer some sort of heartfelt service and every time I come up against like, if there's no price available for me on your website to see what is available to everybody, what is that telling me about your business? So that
Mm,
was like the very first piece and like lesson I've had to learn around being sold this idea that, someone's gonna offer me the solution and it's gonna heal me or it's gonna help me grow. Is
mm-hmm,
that's often the first sign for me.
mm-hmm,
But what's come through for me this year is a lot, and I what I now do, similar to you, Eileen, I've learned some hard lessons, and one of them was a financial investment that I wasn't able to get my money back, and that felt very out of integrity when I had a conversation with this person who was like, "This is what I provided," and I was like, "Evidently not."
mm-hmm.
In my own journey is like, okay, my litmus test now is this motivated by ego? And I think that kind of all encompasses everything we just talked about, right? Like, is my goal ultimately to get, 7 sales this week or, X amount of dollars by the end of the month? Is that the ultimate goal here? Because if that's the goal, that's not in integrity for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that's
Yeah.
reason like, and is it in integrity with my values as a practitioner? Like, is it heart led? And do I feel like this is an offering that is something that is in alignment with everything that I believe to be true? And
Yeah.
you have to come back and find your way back to the path because sometimes those old stories are still present. And that's why I think this journey is really quite incredible, especially as entrepreneurs, because all the while, everything we've talked about this entire recording is we're just slowly rewiring all of those pathways that say we are, capitalist entrepreneurs that have to be money driven, and therefore we have to have this, funnel system or this sales strategy in place in order to bring in the money.
Mm-hmm.
And while that is true for a lot of people, it doesn't feel good for me. And I always find my way back to, oh, this is why things are not easily flowing anymore because I've
Yeah.
just stepped off the path, did a little stumble, and I haven't quite, eliminated that pathway yet. It's still there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
back onto this path that I've been, steadily breaking in over the past
Yeah.
number of years.
Yeah. The ruts are getting deeper, but those ruts are still really deep and
Yeah,
very tantalizing.
Yeah.
yeah, it's almost down to the dirt now. We can see it.
Yeah.
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 That is such a beautiful segue for us to chat a little bit more, Sabrina, about how you're feeling with regards to alignment today versus a year ago. I
Yeah.
would say, so some parameters for that, because it's easy. I could turn around right now and talk about it, how it applies to your work. That one's really obvious, but your work is the result of how you've been moving towards it within yourself and your being.
Mhm.
So I would love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think when I reflect back, it's been an interesting year where I can find pockets of the year where I felt so deeply in alignment. And I know exactly the formula that was necessary for me in those moments to create that. We talked a lot about it last summer about, me playing ball and me really prioritizing quality time with my son. And we created just so many beautiful memories and had so much fun together. And then I can see times where I have been very motivated to grow my business, to scale, and that has led me down some pathways that didn't, again, I had to learn the hard lessons. And so for the past, I think, several months, there have been glimmers
Mm.
of true alignment, but a recognition that those old stories are playing havoc in my life. And
Mm.
yeah, it kind of led to, as we've talked about recently, just like a really, this whole season that we've been in, the planetary alignments has led to like a pretty dark night of the soul, I would call it. Like I really had to just strip everything away and come back to a place of trust, which is also my word for the year.
Oh.
You know, it's really interesting. Last year, my word was balance,
Mm.
and it took a lot of mindfulness to cultivate that,
Mhm.
a lot of planning, especially as a
Mhm.
single mom and a business owner.
Mhm.
So yeah, planning and mindfulness and really conscious approaches to everything. But it's still really hard for me not to dissociate. And so I get to these places where I find myself, off on a path that maybe wasn't, it was the right path for me at the time because I needed to go back inward and peel back the layers of what was happening and come back to my heart and my trust in my higher power. And yeah, so it's been a journey as always.
A bit of a wild
Mm.
ride.
Mhm.
Sometimes it was a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And I think it's so beautiful to hear you speak about because that's something that I think all of us have to learn as we continue to walk our paths and walk a path of trying to come into greater alignment more often is that I often use the spiral metaphor in any journey, we're spiraling in and then we're spiraling back out, that Celtic spiral
Mhm.
specifically of you go in and you come back out and it feels like, oh, yes, I finally figured it out. And then 2 months later, you're like, what the heck? I thought I had this figured out, but you're a little less deep or you're in a slightly different place than you were before. And it's just, yeah, that constant kind of expanding, contracting
Yeah,
piece of any journey towards healing or growth or alignment or whatever it is.
yeah. And I think for me, these last few times that I've gotten to those places, there's been such a deeper level of acceptance.
Mm,
And I think that's really shaped who I am as a practitioner because I can remember periods of my life where I just like tried to fight my way out of it, as we do, right? Like, when is
mm-hmm,
this going to be over? Like, I can't take this anymore. And the more resourced you become, the more self-reliant you become, the more you can, you're almost like observing this as something happening to you from afar. You're like, okay, here we are. We're going in again.
mm-hmm.
I don't know for how long,
What are we gonna learn this time?
right? It's like, okay, at some point I will just fully surrender, and that might look like crying for days, and that's okay. Like I'm fully here for it because I know on the other side is going to be someone who can relate more to clients, and I can be a better mom, and I can be a better friend. Like a lot of my lessons this year have been around sisterhood and healing that good old wound that really triggers all the way down to like my abandonment of my mother as a child, and clearly lifetimes past. It's a deep wound, and you have to do a lot of fucking inner work and inner child healing to come out the other side. And I'm still not all the way there.
Yeah.
It's a lifetime journey of sisterhood healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that as you're speaking that, I'm like, that's still one of my most potent areas to feel triggered is with other women, even though that's the work that I'm doing, because that's the work that I'm doing, of course. That's why I'm offering it. Because yeah, a woman for me, who's really embodied in their alignment and power, often there's that underlying like, what? It's like there's a discomfort there almost when there's not the soft layer of pleasing that so many of us approach most scenarios with. It's very interesting. Now I lean in. I used to be like, I don't like that person. Now I'm like, I still might not like you, but I'm going to find out why.
Nice.
Is it a me thing? It often is.
It always is.
Yeah.
Because even
Yeah.
if it's not you per se, it's still you needing to execute the boundary.
Yeah.
So it's still
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
right? It's like nothing that anybody does has anything to do with you. And if it's triggering me, it's mine to fix.
And
And to be curious about.
yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are some big shifts, friend.
I know.
What would Sabrina today say to Sabrina a year ago?
Mm. I think her biggest reminder would be that comparing myself to other people, particularly other entrepreneurs who are not single moms,
Mm.
is a futile effort and really just a lesson in self-sabotage. Yeah, right. And that the only truth for me is my son regulated? Am I regulated? Are the dogs regulated? If everyone is regulated, we're good. That's all that matters. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. Yeah.
Comparisonitis.
Oh,
Oh,
a big one this year.
I actually went through and muted some friends, dear friends, in the space because every time I saw what they were doing and putting out and the seeming on the surface success, I got bitter, which is as a projector, that's my telltale, that's my out of alignment key, whatever it is. Success is my alignment indicator, and bitterness is like, oh, something's got to change. And so, yeah, I was like, oh, I don't actually need to engage with that stuff.
There's a lot of guilt there. That's where
Yeah.
shared sister wound comes. Like there's a lot of,
hmm
I think because I'm so invested in the healing, my ego says, well, if you need to mute them, then you need to heal more. There's something wrong with you.
But what if the healing happens because you take the step back? You're not picking the scab over and over and over and over. And I found actually I have a lot more capacity, even just I think it was about 2 months ago that I did that, was mute a few of the people who were extra triggering for me, who I love dearly. And I talk to them, but I don't watch what they're doing online. And even now I have more capacity to see what they're doing and hold it with like, oh yeah, actually I'm celebrating you now genuinely.
nice.
Oh my God, I love this. We're clearly on a shared journey in that.
Yeah, I think we've been kindred since the very first time we saw each other in a Zoom room. I remember being like, I want to be her friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Anything else, Sheen? Should we dive right into you?
Yeah, I don't have anything else. How about you, Eileen?
I feel like I piped up when I'm in the moment. All my anything else's came up real time.
I did have one thought that I'll share maybe before we move on, because you might have something to say. The paths, we talk a lot about finding our aligned path and walking our path, and we talk about the forays into those other paths, and life really is like the best hike in the forest, right? Where you've got that path that feels like this is my path. If I stay on this path, I know it's where it's going to take me. I know where I'm going to pop out. And we have all the freedom in the world to explore all of the other little animal trails and, fascinating things in the distance that capture our attention. And so when we're talking about alignment and living an aligned life and being on a aligned path, we don't mean by any means that you're just trucking straight along on that path, right? Like absolutely not. There are times you make good progress because your head's down, you know what you're doing. And the fun parts, the juiciest parts, are when we give ourselves permission to explore a little bit, right? To indulge our curiosity, indulge our creative spirit, and trust that the main path is still there. We know how
Yeah.
to get back to it. And there's no rush. There's no rush to get to the end of the trail.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I love this idea and this it just sparked with being a kid and I always was like, where does this path lead? I know. Yeah, that like vision of me as a little kid being like, I want to follow this trail. Where might it lead? Are there fairies down here? And and applying that to life and the curiosity, which I think leads us so beautifully into talking, having you share, Sheena, because curiosity is, if that word comes up, every time I hear the word curiosity, you immediately spring to
Oh,
mind.
I love
Yes,
You,
that.
fully agree.
yeah,
I
the
love that.
embodiment of it. And so for you, looking back that year to today and thinking about alignment and the journey of it through the past year, what feels present for you?
I felt myself nodding so much with everything that the two of you were sharing about just just keep doing things and living the life and learning the lessons, but doing so with a really deep level of self-awareness and paying attention to how different things were feeling. So a year ago, uh, it's so cute. Because often when I check in with myself, I think, oh, yeah, I was sure I had it all figured out, as we do, right? And then come out the other side and go, oh, wow, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be at all. And I am, I said this recently that I am more out of alignment than I ever have been before, but I'm feeling so totally aligned in knowing that. And that was Sheena middle of winter time. Sheena, as we approach springtime, just looks back and thinks, oh, sweet girl. A little hyperbolic, but that's also me. So I have stayed very true to myself for following what's felt aligned. And what I've been called to practice was recognizing where doing what I thought was aligned led me to feeling deeply misaligned. Because what I thought I was supposed to be doing, what I thought was aligned, turns out when I did the thing, didn't feel aligned. And surprise, surprise, for the second year in a row, my word of the year is also trust. And so I've been trusting that anything that feels misaligned is actually the contrast I need to help me keep finding my way to what is slightly more aligned. And the misalignment is often where the adventures happen. And so I think a year ago, I thought I have been living a misaligned life. I'm putting my feet down. I'm not putting up with this anymore. It's alignment for me or nothing. And that is still true, but now there gets to be the beautiful blend of both misalignment and alignment, and that contrast of what isn't the right fit to help me move on to finding what feels like a better fit. Or for me to celebrate, this feels like a really good fit. I'm gonna nest here. I'm gonna put down some roots here and get comfortable here and experiment and play here and learn before I go seeking something new. And I've stepped into being courageous around really trusting that and releasing some of the approaches that I was so grateful to have for my first baby steps as an entrepreneur and having, I think, way more fun figuring out what it is that I actually do when I'm being of best service to myself and others and the planet. And I can speak much more confidently to the work that I'm doing, which is ironic because as an entrepreneur, my business from the outside doesn't really look like it's doing much of anything. Yet on the inside of my business, I see the results of the work that I'm doing and the people that I'm serving and how it's having an effect for them. And so reconciling with that old language, those old programs that said, yeah, but a successful entrepreneur looks like this. And the priorities of a true entrepreneur are these. And saying, but I tried that and it didn't feel right. So, Sabrina, echoing exactly what you were saying, that doesn't feel right. And coming back to Eileen and saying, this does not feel like it is in integrity for me. And so, how cool that we're all having these totally different lives in these very different spaces. And I will tell you also that we are not the only Woo sisters who are having these conversations. And the number of women that I hear reminding themselves and others to trust, because there's nothing more that can be done right now. And especially as we're in this really fascinating phase between eclipses, there is nothing to be done right now. Set your manifestation muscles, give them a little break, maybe massage, let them have a snooze, and trust that what is meant to be will be next, and that you are prepared to meet that exactly as you are and to encounter the lessons that are coming exactly as you are. So it's feeling really good. It's feeling really good. My business might not be thriving in the way that I would have thought it was going to be. And it's so much sweeter and more loving and helpful for myself and the people I serve. And that feels really good. It doesn't feel like things are being forced anymore. And I guess maybe that's the difference of misalignment is you can recognize and you can titrate with it and choose to move out of it. But when it feels unbearable, that's when we have the wisdom to recognize it and to choose differently. Step down off my soapbox.
To have been a part to watch your journey over the past year has been very special because the Sheena who decided to open up this project to the Sheena who we sit in front of now feels energetically so much more aligned and more confident. Like I've said this to you a lot, the way you speak, the way you articulate yourself, it feels like you have found your way home to whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. And maybe, all of those paths haven't been illuminated just yet.
Of course not.
But the main path, like it feels so juicy and warm.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
And I love the way you speak to the, that thinking and making decisions or trying things because you felt or thought that they were what was going to be in alignment for you, and then only to discover they're not, because I think that it comes back to that kind of experimentation, that curiosity, and also that kind of external noise that we're bathed in of like, oh yeah, I should want and try this because that's what I'm being told everybody should want to do or try, or what works for everybody. And so it feels often it's hard to kind of to know if it actually is going to feel good for us until we've done it. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, is that they aren't able to come home into themselves and recognize when they're doing something or moving towards a goal or acting in a certain way that actually is out of alignment, because every message is screaming that to them that that is what alignment should look like. And so just to honor that really beautiful wisdom that you have of being able to say, oh, I thought this is what I wanted. I committed to it. I told people about it. And then actually, nope, it's not what I'm doing. Because that's scary too, right? To like change our minds is a lot of the time people will be like, well, it's wishy-washy or they can't commit. And it's actually just such an honest way of finding the path that is right for you.
And not staying in something that you know doesn't fit beyond, the time that it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Move
Mm-hmm.
on. There's so much more to experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I'm laughing because you guys are once again just gonna like chuckle over the quote that I wrote today.
I'm really excited. I've been trying to save it till the end, but maybe now would be a good time to
Yes, the last couple have been so I write them right before we hop on, and they're just so perfect. I will admit this is not entirely my own quote, but I just like pulled the ideas together. So I wrote, bloom where you are planted, but never forget that you're not a tree and can always leave. But before you go, did you fertilize your soil enough to flourish where you are?
Wow.
Mm-hmm. While
Oh,
I'm running Bloom currently, I
Well,
was like,
right.
right. And just even what you just described, Sheena, like that's exactly
yeah.
it. And then you echoed it so beautifully, Eileen, is we get to choose if it doesn't feel good, we leave. But I think the magic is in being able to go deep enough within ourselves to figure out like, am I leaving because I'm uncomfortable with the growth, like of hidden upper limit or a glass ceiling, whatever you want to call it, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm skirting up against that sister wound that feels
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable, or is it genuinely not my place? And
Mm-hmm.
it's time to
And
do
it's hard to find the clarity to that answer sometimes.
it.
I still sit with that sometimes. I'm like, am I avoiding this because I feel like I can't or I shouldn't or I'm scared, or am I avoiding it because it's not for me. It's
Yeah.
a practice.
It's a practice, and I genuinely feel for myself. It's like I was having a hard time articulating earlier when we very first started talking about this, and I was like, I have to come back to it. Is I am being called to go so much deeper with my explorations of things, and often I just genuinely don't give myself the space to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not as clear as it once was. It's like I have to get really like into the nuance of what's happening for me. And
Mm-hmm.
often there's two things happening at the same time, which makes it even more of a mind fuck roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes you're not gonna know what the answer is until you try it.
Yes.
Yeah. Until you
Sometimes
make a
multiple
decision.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. And
Mhm.
that's scary because we want to know, we want to be in control. We want to be able to like, I'm thinking about even my relationship with my ex-husband and how I sat in the therapist's office and was like, I just want to know. I wish I could like try leaving and see how it actually is and then decide. And she's like, cool, but you can't do that. Like, unfortunately, you just have to either decide to go and then you're gone, or you have to stay. And I think that's the same with so many of the decisions we have to make. It's like we want to know what it's going to be like once we've made the decision, but we can't until we live the experience.
Yeah.
And
Which
that's
is
where trust
why the
comes back in.
trust. Yes,
Yeah.
All comes back to trust.
it does. It does. Yeah. I have a couple of things I want to try and remember to pull all of these things together, but I just wanted to acknowledge being in community with women this week who some of them for the very first time were feeling what their full body yes and a full body no felt.
Mhm.
And so thank you, Miss Eileen, for holding space for us in Bloom and those beautiful introductory, like the fundamental introduction to how to feel into your intuition, because once we can recognize it, then we get to keep honing that skill. And it's quite interesting, Sabrina, you were talking about like when there can be like multiple things going on that we're trying to discern how I feel about this, or but then that's affected every single day by our biological ecosystem too. So even when we think we can listen, we have to be aware that there are always factors that are influencing our energy inside and outside.
Mhm.
Yeah. And my one thought on that was I can usually tell by the voices who chime in. So if I'm feeling into something that's feeling misaligned and I've got that constriction, that imploding in on myself, no, please don't make me. I can sit with this sweet, scared voice that says, please don't make me. And if the voice that replies says, "Oh, sweet one, no, this isn't for you. Let's make a different choice," versus the one that says, "Suck it up, buttercup." And then to explore again, okay, so if I'm giving myself permission to move away from this, am I avoiding it or am I actually titrating and I need to take a break from this before I go any deeper into it? Or am I staying here listening to this old programming that is basically just saying, you should, you should, you should, you should, you should, for whatever different reasons? And then
Mhm.
that curiosity piece, whose voice is this? Where is this coming from? Is this me? Is this valuable for me? And a lot of my confidence has come from deciding that I'm just done trying to jump through janky hoops. I'm done trying to make things okay that aren't okay. And more than anything, I am confidently speaking and preaching. And I'm so grateful for the teachers in my life who give me the strength and knowing to do this, that that a lot of the world just needs to slow the fuck down and pay attention for a bit. So to the ones who are really good at going fast and the ones who love it and the ones who thrive on it and they get so much done, thank you. Please know that those of us who are moving more slowly are not lazy. And in fact, we're doing the contemplative work, that your body is so busy going that your brain and your heart might not have as much capacity to do. So the slower moving folks are doing really big work. And even when that means we're cultivating a peaceful heart, if that's all we're working on doing is cultivating a peaceful heart, that is more than enough. But it's taken me a long time to be able to claim any of this with a calm certainty. It's not a fight. I'm not here to argue with you, but I'm not going to move faster just because your energy suggests that it would be more convenient for you if I did.
Hear, hear.
I just mic drop.
My I'm telling you, sisters, turning 50 it's been a trip. But now that I'm in my official first week of being 50, I am so excited that 50 means even fewer fucks than the 40s did. So just you wait.
Yes, yes. I am
Oh,
excited. I was excited for 40. That just happened for me, and I'm even more excited for 50. I'm like, welcome cronehood. Let's get there.
hey, on that note, could we use the last couple of minutes to do a little bit of perspective shifting? Because in my mind, when I hear crone, okay, the first thing I think of is the witch in Snow White.
Same.
Mm.
I cannot do it.
Like
No, I'm not there. I will not get there yet. I'm
maybe
not
I need to
not
read
even willing to
Crondom.
contemplate it yet because I'm only 41. And while I too agree that like I know on the other side of 50 is just far more empowerment, I don't want to call it crondom. It feels
We need
I
Eileen to help us reclaim that.
Yeah, for me, I think it's because I've done so much reading about, Maiden Mother Crone and cronehood and this archetype. Sharon Blackie has a book called Haggitude, so that might be a great place to start reclaiming some of this. But yeah, there's this terrible cultural association, just like with the word witch, that a crone is an awful old solo lady, but like what the wisdom of cronehood, and we can call it whatever we want, but post when we stop bleeding tends to be kind of that demarcation if we're going biologically, but it's like the power and the wisdom accumulated over years. And then there's this sense of, we're no longer bleeding. Our energy is no longer going into that space of creating a womb that can fertilize and sustain life. And so we're not building up that lining every month. There is this, like, from a mythological or energetic standpoint, this like keeping the power. There's so much power in menstrual blood. And when we hit those crone years, we are wise. We have zero fucks to give. We're powerful. And there's a lot of fear in a lot of cultures around those years because I think of how powerful women become in those years. So for me, when I'm just like excited about being more badass.
Appreciate it more now.
And you can choose a different word. I don't know what word you might choose,
You
but
can
like
choose a new word, Sheena.
I am choosing crone, and I am acknowledging that the reason that I'm cringing is because the likes of Disney, etc., have taught me
FTP.
that crone is yucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah, I'm reading Sharon Blackie's Wise Women right now. It's her most recent book, and it's just a collection of stories, fairy tales, and myths, but mostly fairy tales and nursery rhymes and stuff, even of wise women in their elder years, in empowered women. I just read a retelling of the like Little Red Riding Hood, which is Little Golden Hood or whatever, and the grandma's badass. She is empowered and she is in charge and she's magical and yeah, it's great. So really
Cool.
embracing that.
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Thank you for
progression.
that. Because it
You're
was
welcome.
listening to all of that that brought me around to wait a minute, why does it make me cringe? Oh, hey, fuck that. I'm claiming it. I'm going to
Mhm.
turn it into something beautiful. I'm going to make an acronym. Don't know what it's going to turn out to be yet,
Ooh.
but I'm going to work
Please share.
Please post it.
on it.
Post it, share in Wise Wild Woman too, if you would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet Woo sisters, thank you. I love you both so much. I wouldn't be the human I am without you by any stretch of the imagination, and your presence in my world fills me up and helps keep me feeling like me. And actually, not just keeps me feeling like me, is really helping me continue to uncover me and celebrate me. So I'm grateful to call you my teachers and my friends and my sisters, and I love you so much. And we're here. It's 1:30. It's a wrap, friends. It's a wrap. Thank you so much. We may be back. I'll let you know. We'll pop in. Yeah, does that work? Sabrina got yours. Oh, yay.
Nope. Oh,
There you go.
Yay!
Oh, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you
That's life,
for
ladies.
creating this and for having us.
Maybe we find our way back without having to record. And just to have
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
And maybe we record it just because there's so much freaking wisdom.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Even if
Good
it's just
job.
for ourselves.
Mm.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to that episode, Woo Crew. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the wisdom that both Sabrina and Sheena brought to this conversation that we had. And I will be back here with you the same time next week with another solo episode. As always, if you could rate, review, like, subscribe, comment, share, all of the things on all of the platforms, whichever one is most appropriate to wherever you're listening to this. It helps more than you know to get this podcast discovered. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I can't wait to be dropping back into your ears the same time next week. Bye for now.